Today I'm going back to the land far away, Quintana Roo, where my great-grandfather, General Ignacioa.bravo, fought the rebels and pacified the region officially. So come with me to the old capital of the then newly formed territory of Quintana Roo, Santa Cruz de Bravo. There are several versions of the history of the pacification of the territory of Quintana Roo. But one, that talks in general about how this happened is that General Ignacio.bravo in the year 1899, after Mérida, Yucatan was surrounded by the rebels, siege. The president of the nation, then Porfirio Diaz, called for his friend and trusted General Ignacio.bravo to come immediately to Quintana Roo. He was battling the Yaqui Indian in Sonora. So he transported himself to Quintana Roo, to the Yucatan peninsula with his Estado Mayor, and the serious build-up began in Saban, the town of Saban. 7 battalions of Mexican regulars and 3 state militia equipped with modern 5-shot Mauser rifles, machine guns, and rapid-fire Debange field artillery. General Bravo, a longtime military supporter of President Diaz, arrived to take command. A small 70-year-old man with a huge, drooping white mustache. Bravo was chosen because of his success against the Yaquis in Sonora. The general declared he was on a humanitarian and civilizing mission in Quintana Roo. Making a little parenthesis here, this is the church of Santa Cruz, and it was built in 1860 under the rule of the indigenous leader, Mayan leader, Bernardo Sen. This church was built utilizing slave labor from white Mexicans and Spanish and Criollos, and that the Maya Cruzo'ob would capture in their incursions during the War of Castes during the 1847 to 1901. It's a beautiful Spanish-style church, and in 1901, when the Mexican army took Santa Cruz on 3 May 1901, the church was converted into a warehouse, horse stables, and also a pigsty. So then later on, when the city was returned to the Mayans never reoccupied any stay as a Catholic church. It's a beautiful church, Spanish style. It had 4 bells originally, and it's made out of stone, very, very big. And right over there is what remains of the house and the office of General Ignacio.bravo when he was here. The top portion used to be made out of wood, and I got to see it. Those pictures I posted are from 2005, 2008. One of the last hurricanes destroyed the building. The building is part of now Hotel Esquivel, and he said that this Esquivel guy won the building on a poker game. So this used to be the building where his offices stood, and the upper portion, I believe, it was where he was living. Now, the only original part is the shell, the bottom part, those walls, and that's it. Getting back to the history of this place, on the morning of May 4, 1901, Mexican and Yucatecan troops, led by General Ignacio.bravo, marched unopposed into abandoned Chan Santa Cruz, establishing the official date for the end of the caste war. Bravo announced his great victory by telegraph to the president, provoking wild celebration in Mérida and in Mexico City the next day. In June, Governor of Yucatan, Canton, came to visit the fallen rebel capital. He reviewing the troops while a band played, and he ordered the town renamed Santa Cruz de Bravo in honor of my great-grandfather. Some 2,000 Yucatecans and Mexicans had died in General Bravo's campaign, mostly from illness. Troops rapidly moved out of the extent of Bravo's control, northeast to the miserable beach head at Vigia Chico on Asunción Bay, and south to Bacalar. The defeated Maya rebels scattered to refuges deep in the forest and swamps, to British Honduras and to Guatemala. Refusing to stand to a battle, they continued to fight. Bravo's forces destroyed food stores and burned milpas, the corn fields. Prisoners were condemned to labor on haciendas in Veracruz. So the Yucatec, the Mayans, were taken to Veracruz as slave labor for haciendas. General Bravo pursued pacification and development of the territory and his capital vigorously and with an iron fist. In Santa Cruz de Bravo, he created a pretty plaza with orange trees, a British clock, built a modern reservoir and a market, and installed an electric generator. These are a time when there were cities in the Mexican Republic that didn't have power. But there was a little natural immigration to along the spiced region, viewed as a tropical hell. Bravo brought in concretes for labor, making the place essentially a penal colony. The great Balam Na sanctuary of the Speaking Cross became a chaotic prison dormitory. Construction of a railroad line to Vigia Chico, which is the access to the territory and to the capital, Santa Cruz de Bravo, began using narrow gauge, the Cavill track. The workers, mainly political prisoners sentenced to hard labor, advanced under dreadful conditions, and as unconquered Maya snipers shoot them. Attacks continued after the line was completed, and the trains regularly included armored boxcars with machine guns for their protection. Right here we can admire some of the remains of the Cavill locomotives and platforms that once communicated Santa Cruz de Bravo with the world via Vigia Chico, via Peto, via Veracruz, just laying here in downtown. In here, time never changes, and they call it the rebel time. They never change it. Anyways, I step on some kind of thing, ice cream or something. I gotta wash my foot in the fountain. So there it is. Chan Santa Cruz, Nocbalam, Santa Cruz de Bravo, Felipe Carrillo Puerto. From being the capital of the Mayan to be the capital of the newly formed territory of Quintana Roo as of 1902 to being just a city in Quintana Roo, Felipe Carrillo Puerto. So that's it. It's precise to point out that on 24 November 1902, the Congress of the Union of the Government of Mexico published a decree in which officially declared the federal territory of Quintana Roo as a separate entity from Yucatan, placing Santa Cruz de Bravo as its capital. And this gentleman here is Felipe Carrillo Puerto. This is the man after whom this city is name. No abandonéis a mis indios. That's what the paper says on his hand. Do not abandon my Indians. Felipe Carrillo Puerto, 1874-1924. And this is Felipe Carrillo Puerto nowadays. This is the main square of Santa Cruz de Bravo. This is the way it looks now, and that's the way we looked back then in 1901. After 1901, the town was already consolidated as a modern little village or town with its own railroad connecting with a steamboat to the rest of the world, and with its own telegraph and power plant, electric power plant, and potable water and the whole thing. The connection to Santa Cruz de Bravo was via the Cavill Locomotive. We can see some of those locomotives and platforms laying here in the park in downtown, being claimed by nature already, rusted. But the history of those locomotives is a little interesting, and is as follows. So, in the year 1883, in the old continent in La France, the Baron Fernand-Marie, chef de bien Segarrita, acquired the Cobasset estate at an auction. It was a very large estate with about 1,851 hectares near the town of Mosset in the Pyrenees in France. In addition to willows and pine, fir and beech forest, there was also a quarry above the refuge of Callao. There the foreman, Remy Jacome, had mined talc. The Baron built the very first narrow-gauge railway, the Cavill, to transport the talc-containing soapstone from a quarry an altitude of 1,600 meters to the Gare de Tarte, the mount station of an aerial tramway at an altitude of 1,212 meters, about 4,000 feet. In order to market the soapstone mine in the quarry, he converted it into talc at a chemical factory in Prats de Poudre, Chavdebien, which was used to treat vine diseases. And right here we can admire one of the old locomotives, all frozen, all rusted, still beautiful, still showing its proud beauty in biology, if we can say. The inner tubes that used to carry the water, turned into steam. And so this is one of 6 locomotives that were used in the old, newly formed back then in 1901 territory of Quintana Roo. Right here you can admire them in the center square of Carrillo Puerto nowadays. This is how it looked back in 1901, and this is the trajectory. And here's my great-grandfather with some of the people that work for him supervising the laying down of the tracks. Here's the Cavill Locomotive going back and forth in between Chan Santa Cruz or Santa Cruz de Bravo and Vigia Chico to connect the capital of the territory with the rest of the world. This is where the train used to run, the trucks used to run in this jungle, and it's 57.65 kilometers. And how did the railroad arrive into the territory of Quintana Roo? That's another history. On December 13, 1901, the material for the railroad was ordered to New Orleans, the USA. On April 16, 1902, 250 tons of narrow-gauge railway material were delivered to General de la Vega camp at the port of Vigia Chico. The line was officially opened on 4 September 1905. Between 1905 and 1912, the Mayans carried out continuous harassment and attacks on the military railway or Tren Militar. When General Bravo left Santa Cruz de Bravo and returned to Guadalajara, the Mayans began to destroy the train In 1913, the governor of the territory, General Arturo Garcilaso Juarez, ordered the reconstruction of it. In 1918, General Venustiano Carranza granted the Mayan leader Francisco May a concession for the use of narrow-gauge railway in the transport of the chicle and the rubber. These images show how Vigia Chico looked in 2005-2008. Today, the jungle claim most of this part. The first time I visited this place, I spent the night camping in those shacks that used to belong to the Mexican Navy. And it was kind of quite an experience. General Bravo, my great-grandfather's, remained in power in Quintana Roo as a jefe político until 1912. The new government taking over after the revolution returned the land, returned the capital, Santa Cruz de Bravo, to the Maya Cruzo'ob. General Bravo was retired by the new government in the basis of years of service. He served 65 or 67 years of his life to the Mexican army in different campaigns, different positions, etc. And then after that, the place returned to the Mayan. This is one of the ships, one of the steamboats that communicated the territory with the rest of the world. And those are a couple of medals awarded, samples of medals awarded to the veterans of the war. My great-grandfather in the little picture too. The last picture is of my father, myself, with the oleo painting of my great-grandfather. Hope you enjoy the video, this little bit of history of the territory of Quintana Roo.